the plants just did not stress as much as the other half of the field. And really when harvest came, we saw up to 15 plus bushel difference just because it helped it out in that stressful period that we had. My name is Chris Winderlin. I live in Scott City, Kansas, which is the western part of the state. We're about 60 miles from the Colorado line. And my primary crops are corn and wheat. That's our biggest factor out here. We average 17 inches of rain a year. I mean, that's not much. You hear the guys in the Corn Belt getting 40 inches or something like that. It doesn't take a lot of rain out here to make a good crop, but we also got to deal with that terrible heat we have in July and August. That seems to be our where we get the brunt of it. And the winds, we always have the 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. So it's on the AmiNo side of things. What our main problem is out here in the summertime is the stress mitigation. Anything that we can do to help this plant survive. It's a given that we're going to get 10 to 15 days of 100-degree plus heat in the summer. And it's usually during that period of time, we just generally don't catch any rain. So if we can find something that helps this plant kind of survive in this period and, kind of make it a little tougher during this period. And it seems like what I've noticed with the AmiNo, and I've ran it on I did some dry land tests with it, half filled with, half filled without. During the summer, I kept looking at it going, man, there's something going on here. The plants just did not stress as much as the other half of the field. And really when harvest came, we saw up to 15 plus bushel difference just because of that. It helped it out in that stressful period that we had. On the visual side of the AmiNo, I guess the biggest thing I noticed was during that summer, after I had sprayed it on the corn, I was spraying a field next to it. And what I noticed is the tops of the corn plant were even and consistent. And then as soon as I got to that halfway point in the field where I didn't use it, the corn became more inconsistent and it was kind of wavy. It was just wavy compared to the other half. I kept telling myself, I said, man, I can't believe that product is doing that. So I kept watching during the summer. And then what I really noticed was it handled the stress quite a bit better. There was another dry summer and there was that little window in there where it seemed like it kind of handled it quite a bit better than the side that without it. To me, that was a selling point. I was like, wow, if we can find something, because it's a given every year out here that it's going to get that hot and windy. I'm sitting there going, well, I don't know if I can contribute all that to that product. But when you do you're doing a 100-acre field and you cut it right in half and cut the two fields separate, then all of a sudden you're like, wow, there's something to it. And I ran some last year too. What I noticed last year was it was doing a phenomenal job at, we just ran out of moisture on some fields last year on the dry land side. And it looked beautiful. And then you could just tell the week that it just finally said, hey, we just got to have some moisture in it. And then it finally kind of gave up a little bit, but it gave me that extra chance to catch that possible rain that everybody's waiting for. That inch or inch and a half of rain that can be a game changer. If we can stretch that window out a little bit and maybe catch that rain that may come 2 weeks later or something, that's kind of where I think it's a home run product.